Hello, and welcome back to the Community-21 series. And today we're meeting with Joe Garvey of the Richmount Rural Community Association. He's going to talk about how they helped the NHS during the pandemic and how they band together to provide good relations projects across their local area. This is what Joe had to say. Joe, thanks for having us here today. If you want to just start out by telling us a bit about yourself and the Richmount Rural Community Association.
Well, Richmount Rural Community Association was founded around about 2006 and a reaction to basically a new village being created in what was known as Scott Street. And there were a lot of houses put up in short time when there was literally no social background, there were no community facilities at all. Now, the Community Association gradually built itself up, but about 10 years ago, it completely rejuvenated itself and it got its own bit of ground. We managed to get our own community hall, and from that, we have really expanded exponentially with a very large older people's group, probably the biggest and most active, I would say, in the council area. But we also do a lot of other things. We do a lot of good relations work because we have a sizable Bulgarian community here. And even within that Bulgarian community, there can be differences between Muslim orientated and Orthodox. But we also have the situation where we are in the Parish of Drumcree. And the Parish of Drumcree sums up or conjures up some interesting relationships. And we have been working to bring the two communities together. And it has worked tremendously well. We now have a very good cross-section of people that come to our older people's group. And one of the things we did do, or at least I did when I came into the association, was develop our own logos and mottos and so on. And our motto that developed was working together for all in the community. And that is something that we would abide with and promote very much.
And can you tell us a bit about some of the projects and groups that you work with, some of the work you did maybe prior to COVID?
Some of the work that what?
That you would have undertaken prior to COVID, whether that be...
prior to COVID?
Yeah.
Well, prior to COVID, we had a major heritage project underway. It's actually almost a £50,000 project, tracing back the heritage in this area well over 5,000 years, back to Neolithic times, right up to, I suppose, the 1930s, 1940s. And it is amazing the amount of heritage that we have uncovered and the amount of people that didn't know about it and now want to learn. And as I said earlier, we're doing a lot of good relations work. We also have ongoing arts projects, and they manifest themselves from basically physical art, such as making ceramics, woodworking. It varies so much, right down to storytelling, which is the more creative sort of side of it. We also do a lot of environmental work in the area. Probably seen around here a large number of planters with flowers in it. And our people, our volunteers, get involved in putting the plants in and maintaining them. So we're actually very active. And I don't know if you noticed coming into the centre, there's actually a very large granite monument there. And that is actually an arts project combined with good relations. And it's called All Together now. And that name comes from the schools that were involved in this area, coming up with a name that would, about bringing people together. The other thing, on some of the good relation projects, we have actually involved schools. We have involved 3 schools. The local one, which is a state school, another one not far from here, which would be a Roman Catholic school, and also one in the south of Ireland outside Carrickmacross. So, and we've been working with the communities both in the Garvey Road area and also in Carrickmacross as well. We also work with what we deem to be a nationalist group up in Glenravel and the Glens of Antrim. So, you know, we spread out quite a bit actually in terms of, because sometimes we can be so centred in one area, we need to look outside and see what's happening, see how things develop.
Absolutely. And so how was the community impacted by COVID, and what did you do to serve the community over the pandemic?
Well, we kept going in terms of the older people thing and our activities right up until, I think, the beginning of March, right, when obviously we had to stop. It was then our main concern was, well, first, promote keep safe. That was one of the other thing was, how do we keep in contact with our people, particularly the older people? And we know that one of the main reasons that we set our service up for older people was to tackle social isolation and loneliness. And we kept in regular telephone contact with these people. We all started to produce a community magazine called Richmount News. Now, we had been producing them for over the last 10 years, but we increased the frequency. I think we put 2 out in 1 month, and then we started toning it down a wee bit because a lot of work involved in them. Now, we write, lay out, and print those magazines ourselves, all in-house. And then we deliver 200 of them. Now, the 200 went out to people who weren't on the internet. Probably the ones that were getting the least social contact. It also went out on the internet and Facebook, and we have a very active Facebook page. But we do realise a lot of people aren't on the social media. Now, that in itself was a good contact between the person delivering and the person getting the magazine. There were doorstep deliveries, basically. But it was an opportunity to say, hello, Mrs., hello, how are you doing? And so on. It was that little bit of extra contact. Now, we also delivered food parcels to those people who had to socially isolate. And there again, that was good contact. In April, we knew there was a demand for scrubs, for PPE. And I think overall, between masks, laundry bags to put the scrubs in, I think we made somewhere in the region of 10,000 pieces on. Now, we had a large number of volunteers involved in that, both some working here, socially distanced of course, and people working from home. And that was unbelievable in terms of bringing people together. We had people from all different races, religions, whatever, all working for a common good. Most of this stuff went to care homes. And you must remember that's where probably the highest death rate was during COVID. And they were highly appreciative of what we got. And we went through many yards of material, that's all I'd say. But it was a very good community exercise. Then we moved on. We actually produced a video. Now, we have our own facilities for making CDs here. And we delivered, like the magazines, we delivered 200 of them, and the rest went out in media. And it was an uplifting sort of video. Because a lot of people at the time were a bit of gloom and doom about. And it was to build up sort of, you know, there's hope out there, come on. We might as well enjoy ourselves as best we can. We had a garden party in August 2020. We couldn't come in here, but we had a garden party. And that went, this was an opportunity for people to get together who hadn't been out of the house, basically. We come together then when restrictions were allowed for 3 weeks in October, and then restrictions come back in again. But we managed to have a Christmas party. We managed to get the back curtain center off an old van. And it was actually put on my trailer. And we had an outdoor Christmas dinner. People eating their cars. I think we had live music on our own stage. And they had a proper traditional Christmas dinner with turkey, ham, and so on. And it certainly was different. And even coming forward to this year, we had a garden party in May. And again, we used that stage. wee bit more refined since it was started. But between Christmas and May, we also made, we delivered meals out. We made them here. Traditional 2-course meals. They were going out to people who probably weren't getting a substantial meal even during the week and weren't getting out of the house. And that, for the people who were receiving that, this was like manna from heaven. You know, it was to get a tasty, cooked meal without them having to go out to buy it or whatever. It was absolutely wonderful for them. And then, since then, in May this year, we opened up again, right, with various social distancing. Our time reduced a little bit, but in September, October, we're going back to our normal 11 o'clock to 3:30 for older people. But in the meantime, while that was all going on, the Heritage Project was still going on, the research was still going on, a lot of it was being done on Facebook. But obviously some of the projects had to take a back seat. They're like the Good Relations Project. We had a Good Relations Project set up involving those 3 schools I mentioned. And they were going to get involved in tag rugby. Not against each other, but teams built up from each. And they were going to see the major rugby stadia in Dublin and Belfast. That unfortunately had to go. And we had to turn that around, and now we have people doing a fabric art project on good relations. I think we're going to call it the Richmount Tapestry, a bit like the Bayou Tapestry.
Excellent. And I was wondering, what are some stories, maybe individual stories, whether they be humorous or inspiring, that came out of your work during the pandemic?
Well, one of the things that come out in writing the magazine, we're always looking for stories. And so we don't want gloom and doom stories. You know, you have to be, yes, be safe, but at the same time, you have to. I say, what can we find in this area that's has happened here that we can put a story together? And we found murders. And people, not tragic at the time, but people love a good juicy murder. You know, let's face it, they read all the novels about them, and we had them here. And some of them were extremely interesting, right? But without getting into that, there was one case we come across. An elderly man marries a woman much younger than himself. They get married on a Thursday. Their honeymoon is in Lurgan for the afternoon. They agree to set up house on the Saturday, but he dies. And why? He was using strychnine as an aphrodisiac. Now, can you imagine the story? It's tragic for the people concerned, but those are the sort of stories. And we get people coming through with poetry now. You know, I didn't know there was any local poets in the area, and now they're coming through. We call them the rural poets. They might be writing about their own townland or whatever, but they do like the humorous sort of side. And even in some of the murder stories, some of the twists and turns in it are a little bit bizarre, right? But people are talking, when's the next magazine coming out? What's the, because the stories were so long, we couldn't dominate the whole magazine with it. When's the next issue coming out? I want to find out, did they hang her? No, they didn't actually. But so, you know, but people loved that. And even on the doorstep, people like that little bit of banter, that little bit of chat, which they were missing.
I think you're right. You know, having lived here for a few years, I think local people do love a good story, and no doubt you have a great story about what you've done pre-COVID, during COVID, and what your plans are for after. My last question is just, what is your message for the community at this time as we come out of lockdown?
Well, I suppose the message, we have to be realistic in COVID, and the message is be safe. For people who haven't had the vaccine, they should think seriously about it. It does seem to offer some protection, or at least minimises the risk of death. But over and above that, we're 60% older people, and we know some people don't confine yourself to the house forever, because you do need social interaction. Otherwise you become lonely. And to use the country term, you become odd, right? You do need to get out, you do need to be talking to people. And that is something we've been trying to do here, is to get people, even if they only come in and talk, gossip, tell each other lies for a while. It is all very important to keep, and also the activities we have planned. I mean, we're starting arts projects, so on, are very much meant to stimulate people's minds, give them a feeling of self-worth, and give them that little bit of dignity and somewhere to go during the week. Because let's face it, over the last while, it's been very difficult to go anywhere for any social events, and so we are almost, as far as possible, trying to get back up to full steam again, certainly by November. Now, hopefully, conditions will allow us to let that continue, and then we get all our other projects going.